For all the builds we've done before so far, we've rejoiced when we've beaten 200, been proud of ourselves, and really accomplished whenever we reached past 250, which is an even rarer case. But there's a build that puts all of that to shame, and that is the Eldritch Blaster. I don't know when the right time is to reveal this build, but we can't keep it in the shadows forever. The truth is, this build makes all the other builds seem like playthings, because Eldritch Blast, when abused, can do some terrifying things. Even without trying, you can reach upwards of 200. Let's begin. Well, as usual, we're going to be going into ASMR. Now, again, this one, there's no reason not to choose Scourge ASMR, which will give us another 10 for aura damage. We're a mostly charisma class, and so all we need to really do is have high charisma and decent constitution, reasonable dex for AC reasons in multi-class. The first level, we're going to go into Fighter. This is for con save proficiencies, since we really want to have that concentration locked down. And then we're going to go into Warlock for hexblade particularly, of course. So basically now all of our attacks with our hex weapon, since that's what we're going to be using, or if not our spells, of course, are charisma. So, all we need is that flimsy 13 dex from when we can go into Fighter, and then we can just reap the rewards by getting those proficiencies and going all into charisma for that benefit. Again, Hexblade Curse gives us some great things. We've talked about Hexblade more than once. We get spells like Hex, we get Shield, Eldritch Blast, Hexblade's Curse ability. It's just great. So now we're going back. We're going into Wizard now for our third level. We're going to get more spells. We want to Find Familiar to have advantage on at least one of our attacks from using the help action, Absorb Elements, and just more combat spells. And at fourth level, we'll go another level into Wizard for Bladesinger subquest. Now, the thing is, our intelligence, what's great about intelligence is we can actually make it like our second highest score if we want to, because basically, while blade singing, we get to have a bonus to concentration equal to our intelligence modifier. This means that with proficiency with constitution saving throws, decent intelligence, and all right con, we're gonna have a pretty solid constitution, which means at early levels we're gonna be able to keep up that hex and things like that really easily. Even better if you get something like Warcaster. So at fifth level, total levels, we're going to go into third level wizard. We get second level wizard spells like Mirror Image, Hold Person, Shadow Blade, all those wonderful spells. But the most important is now we have 2 beams for our Eldritch Blast. Now this, again, of course, we don't have extra attack, but we have Eldritch Blast, which means, now right now we don't have Agonizing Blast because we don't have invocations. But at 6th level we get ASI, we're going to take the Eldritch Adept feat, which means we can get Agonizing Blast. Because the only requirement is that you have Eldritch Blast and our Warlock. Since we have 1 level in Warlock and we have Eldritch Blast, getting that that invocation is easy enough. Having things like Hold Person means we can, get our crits and things like that. Now, finally, 7th level, we get our 5th level in Wizard, which means we get the level spells, and the most important of all these spells, it's Spirit Shroud. Now, at this point, it's only slightly better than hex, but just wait. So, well, not only that, but we essentially get we get spells like haste. We get so we can make attack because we're pretty good as a melee at this point, which is nice. But just wait. Now, 8th level. We're 6th level in Wizard, which means we get our 2nd level Bladesinger ability. This gives us extra attack, but it is not just our normal extra attack, my friends. We can replace one of our attacks with a cantrip. Guess what cantrips that's going to be extra? That's right, Eldritch Blast, which means that we can make one weapon attack and then cast Eldritch Blast for 2 beams. And then if we're wielding, we can attack as a bonus action. So we're getting 4 attacks at 8th level. Now, we're going to go back into Fighter. We are 9th character level total. Second level in Fighter. We get Action Surge. Again, just a wonderful ability. And finally, we go one more into Fighter for Echo Knight. This is going to be 10th level character total. What this gives us is if we take the attack action, which we technically are because we're using extra attack and just casting a spell within that action, we can make an attack from our Echo's position using Unleash Incarnation, which again basically gives us another attack. So at this point we have 5 attacks, but then we go 11th level. And this means that we get 3 blasts from our Eldritch Blast, which means that we're making 6 attacks with our turns, which is wonderful. Now, and for our 11th level, we're going to take a 1st level in Sorcerer. Now, we're going to obviously need Sorcerer because if you've heard of any Warlock build, having Quicken Spell allows us to Eldritch Blast as a bonus action. So, the real question is what subclass to go with Sorcerer? And the answer is none of these really help us. Like, there's a Storm Sorcerer, which if you cast a spell for silver higher that can deal lightning damage, you can deal additional damage to all targets within 10 feet of you. This would normally be great, but the thing is we're only be casting cantrips. Like on our first turn, we might get a minor boost if we can. We go cold for Spirit Shroud, and then we use the transmute spell, meta magic, to make it lightning, and then we deal damage. But the thing is, this is essentially a one-time thing, and really what we're looking for is consistent damage. Again, Draconic would normally be great, but we're dealing force damage. The only time you'd want it is you can add it to things like Green Flame Blade, but the issue here is that we already used up our cantrips, or cantrip attack from extra attack to do a bunch of buffs, so we're not going to benefit from that. And then the others don't really Favored Soul is just a nice thing to have, the 2d4, but we can do better. So I'm gonna go into Shadow Sorcerer. This is kind of a weird choice, but just bear with me here. Now at this point we are we're 6 levels full. We have 6 full caster levels. So 12th level, we're gonna go 2nd level Sorcerer. Again, we're just adding more spells to our reservoir. Sorcerer doesn't give us any spells that Wizard does, so just grab what spells you want, really. But at 12th level Sorcerer, we do get meta magic. Of course, we need Quicken, and then I would say grab Empowered, because that's going to, just having higher average damage dice with Blast is nice. Yeah, so we get magic, and then we get 2s at 13th level. So at this point, we are an 8th level full caster. And then we go, once we reach 14th, we get both an ASI, and we are 9 levels full caster, which means that we can upcast shroud at 5th level, which does 2d8 damage, which means basically at this point we make 6 attacks. Yes, all right, because 3 and and then each of them has the shroud damage applied to them. Now I would say get Gunner because we're relying on shroud a lot now, and Gunner says when we don't have disadvantage on any ranged attack, doesn't matter what, when within 5 feet, which means we can blast at short range, and this is great because we're also a melee character. 5th level, we're just 10th level warcaster, so it doesn't do much for us, except what's nice is we get that Tasha's ability that allows us to re-roll. I think these stability checks, I think saving throws and maybe attack rolls as well, by spending a sorcery point. So just having that reliability is nice. And we just get to add more spells to Reservoir. Then 11th level, 6th level spells now, which doesn't affect as much. Spell slots, but doesn't. But we do get our next feature from our subclass, which is the Hound. The Hound is about 10 damage on average. Again, that's literally the only reason why I chose it, is you're doing 10 extra damage, which why not? So, and so we're 16th level total, all the characters. 17th level, we have 7th level slots, which we can spend to deal 3d8 damage from Spirit Shroud, which is great. 18th level. Okay, so there's a lot of things you can do with this. One is to go Sharpshooter, but the thing is, like, we're going to need Crossbow Expert if you want to, like, have range attacks and then do bonus harsh attack. But the thing is, we can't use heavy weapons because we're Bladesinger. Again, we can drop that, but we really need the concentration for Spirit Shroud. So, like, you can go Grifted Chromatic Dragon. Again, it's technically just a UA still right now, though it's probably going to get published really soon. But that's always an option. And then, or you can just bump up one of your stats. Probably just bump up. But there's, it's nice to have options. Then our last 2 levels, we're going to go into Spore Druid. Now, we are a, I think, 16th level caster, which means that we have 8th level spell. 2 of our attacks are going to be, optimally, we would go ranged because that way we can, we're going to need 1 hand tree for our blasts. So, actually, we may not, but I would just go, like, a crossbow is going to be a D8. D8 plus our charisma, since we can make that as a weapon deck, so I'm pretty sure that's going to be 4, depending on which A size you go, probably around 4 at this point. 6 from Hexblade's Curse, and then we do 10 from Sharpshooter. Okay, but the dilemma is, though, if we don't do, if we do Sharpshooter, we don't get Spores. So that's a dilemma. Like, the option is that if your DM allows Blood Hunter, you can go that and you get the D4 extra. Otherwise, like, again, it depends on what you want to do. Spores isn't consistent while Sharpshooter is. So basically, if we do that, we don't need 2 Spores. So instead, if you let Blood Hunter, you can do that. Otherwise, I would say just go 2 more into Sorcerer, because basically that would mean is that, like, depending on whether or not, if you're able to get the Meta Magic Adept feat, you're having, like, with 8 levels in Sorcerer, you're having 8 to 10 Sorcery Branch routines. Basically 4 to 5 consistent levels of firing. Well, if you have 10, like, you're having 5 to 6 consistent levels of firing, which is better. Not to mention, like, it allows you to do, like, for example, say the fight lasts 5 rounds. You still have 2 sorcery left to empower it. And not only that, but if we go 10 levels in Sorcerer, we get another Meta Magic, which is always nice, which means if you have Adept, you have 5 Meta Magics, which is great. So, that's probably my recommendation. Though again, there's other levels you can go into. You can even go like 1 into rogue if you want to get like a small sneak attack bonus, and just use the one other level to go into like forge clerics. You can make your weapon a +1. So there's that. Now another option for this build, we'll talk about the more specifics later, is we're literally just one level off from being a 17th level caster, which means you have 9th level spells, which means we can spend 9th level to do 48 shroud damage. Like in that case, we would have to lose something because we would need 1 level more Warlock. But we could like just remove our Echo Knight levels instead, go 2 more and take our first level sorcerers. We still get that, we get con and charisma, which is exactly what we like, and then we can go 2 more into spores, which gives us another SI, and then we have more temporary hit points to keep up those spores melee damage. So at this point, we've basically committed to being a light weapon attacking melee fighter with also was if we're going with spores, you don't really want Scourge SMR. I suggest Protector because flying. I think I mentioned this prior, is that like again, like if you want to just go full blaster, you can fly 10 feet above them. They're still within range for Spirit Shroud and take that damage, but you won't get hurt. Then remember, we make 10 attacks and all of them get the 3d8 shroud bonus. So if we're doing, Eldritch Blast, every single Eldritch Blast is a d10 plus 5 from our 4 or 5, depending on how high we were to get from ASIs, and then plus 6 from hexblade, of course, and then 3d8 from Spirit Shroud. So that's 8 of those. And then remember, if we really want to, we can not go Echo and instead get 1 more caster level, which would go more caster levels, which will allow us to have basically 48 for all of those, which we lose Echo, but well, let's see how it compares. Remember, we have the 20 ASMR damage and then the 10 hound damage. Again, there's like a few of these builds. If you have high enough caster levels, I suggest like bestow curse as an option, because like the thing is they have to make the save, right? But if they do, if they fail to save, then bestow curse would do is basically against that one target at least, it's another d8 damage. Well, that's one of the bestow options. And then again, if you cast at 5th level higher, it doesn't require concentration and it lasts for like 8 hours, I think. So that's pretty great. That's about 40 extra damage, I think, on total. But I don't like to put stuff like that because it's like, oh, you can just grab a spell and you can get like Guardian Faith and things like that. Like you can add that to almost any build, and I'm just like, it's one of the reasons why if you have enough turns of setup, casters can just deal more and more damage. And again, Eldritch Blast is good enough as is. It's incredible. So again, final total, we are reaching like 350 damage, and this just requires 1 turn of setup. That being, you ASMR, which isn't even necessary because that does 20 damage, and we're already capped over 300. And then bonus action, Spirit Shroud. That's the only setup we need. And like you may just need to stop in the middle of combat and then refresh your sorcerers. But that's like the problem. Considering how much damage you're dealing, the battle is going to be over by 4 or 5 rounds. Remember, we're dealing 8 attacks. So honestly, it might be better not to go ASMR and just go Elf. Again, we're really pressed for ASIs here. If we want to go, instead of like, because we don't really need 10 sorcerer, we can just go 1 into we can just go 1 to make that 4 levels in Echo, so we get 3 SIs, and then again, it's debatable whether custom lineage allows you to take racial feats, but then we get another feat from that. So if we can get Elven Accuracy, we're sacrificing a bit here because we're definitely not going to get Meta Magic Adept if we do that. But by having that, again, we can, because we're just getting we're just doing 2 extra damage total from War Cleric, and it's only D6 for sneak attack. We can sacrifice one of those to go another level into Warlock, which gives us Agonized Blast, and we don't need to take the feat, so that's another option. But basically, if we have Elven Accuracy, remember we have Hexblade's Curse on the target, which means they crit on the 9. Oh, that's another setup. So we do have to have. So it is 1.5 turns to setup basically. But we crit on the 19 to 20. And then if we have advantage, which you probably can, like on earlier levels, we'll be able to do like the darkness, like Devil's Sight combo. At higher levels, like we have familiar too, so we have easy ways to get advantage. And since we're dealing, we have 10 attacks, because essentially it is at least the chances are at least like would normally be 1/10. We're hitting 1920, but remember we're making 3 attack rolls with each, which means that's going to be 30 chances to do that. So on average, we can hit like potentially 3 crits every round, which is incredible. This does like 100 higher than most of the high spells we've been able to do. And with it's really easy with crits and bestow curse and things like that to get 400. Like, and again, we have empower so we can reroll things. Its consistency is amazing too. It is a beast of a build, and it just goes to show you, Spirit Shroud and Eldritch Blast are 2 of the crazy spells. And when combined, for at least for damage round, they're gross. Like Bladesinger, it has all of the things you need to make the grossest build, and it just comes together. And the question is, are any of our builds going to be able to beat this? Again, like only Sorcerer points is a custom resource, but like as long as you have spell slots, you can just keep refreshing them. So it's very minimal in resources once you do that initial Spirit Shroud. So the sad truth is, the closer you get to this build with Bladesinger, with Eldritch Blast, with Spirit Shroud, the more powerful the build gets. But we'll beat it. We can do it. We'll dethrone this monster eventually. But that's until next time. Stoic Dungeon, signing off.